Why is she with him? Be honest, you've asked yourself that question. Maybe you saw them at an airport or walking through Cebu. An American close to 70, gray-haired and moving a little slower than he used to, with a Filipina 30 years younger holding his arm. Back home, he could go months without a woman looking at him twice. Here, a younger woman isn't merely noticing him, she chose him. He is the same man he was back home, only the country changed. So what does she see that women in America stopped seeing? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why a man can arrive in the Philippines at 70 and still be seen as a man, not an old man whose romantic life is already over. My name is Thomas. I am 70. I was born in Akron, Ohio, and spent my working life supervising facilities maintenance. In 2014, at 58, I was divorced, and my daughter was grown and living in the United States. During my last week at work, I handed the next supervisor a heavy ring of building keys. For years, my phone had rung when something broke. Once the keys were gone, the phone was quiet. No woman owed me attention. I had mistaken a busy work life for a full one. My co-host and friend Liza will join me shortly. She is 42, born and raised in Metro Cebu. She is a single mother and has spent 15 years in hotel guest relations and helping expatriates settle here. We met when I arrived in 2014. We are friends, never a couple. She can tell you how that first year looked from behind the front desk. I moved permanently to Metro Cebu at 58. The weather and slower pace mattered, but the fuller truth was that I did not want the next 20 years to feel like that silent phone. I thought a new country might change my life. First, it exposed how badly I could misread kindness. Later, it exposed something worse, how easily I could confuse money with care. Years after that, my daughter asked one question that found the hole in every confident answer I had. I made coffee to avoid it. I will come back to that question. When I came out of Mactan Cebu Airport, the heat went straight through my shirt. I had 2 suitcases, an apartment reservation, and far too much confidence. That confidence lasted about 3 days. My first home was a serviced apartment in Metro Cebu. Liza worked in guest relations there. She was about 30 then and had a young son. She helped me get a local phone number. She remembered that I drank my coffee black when I called because I could not make the air conditioner behave, and yes, the facilities man could not work the air conditioner. She came upstairs, pressed one button, and tried not to laugh. She was warm. She asked about Ohio and my daughter. She remembered what I told her. She laughed at my bad jokes. I thought she liked me. No, that is not quite honest. I wanted to think she liked me. So one evening I asked whether she wanted to have dinner when she was not working. Liza did not embarrass me. She just looked at me and said, "Thomas, I work in guest relations. If I remember your coffee, that means I am good at my job." That was a long elevator ride back to my room. The next morning, I apologized. She said it was all right, but then she made me answer a question. What exactly had she done that meant romance? I gave her my evidence, the coffee, the questions, the laughing. She said, "I was welcoming you. You were new here." Then she explained something I should have known at 58. Warmth can be real without being romantic. Service can be sincere without becoming personal. Curiosity can feel intimate to a man who has gone a long time without attention. None of that makes the woman dishonest. The mistake happens when he finishes her sentence for her. That embarrassment gave me the 3 words I still use now: noticed, considered, chosen. Liza, tell them which of those 3 steps I had actually reached and what changed after that. That question bothered me, Liza, not because it was unfair, because I had no answer. We were sitting near my first apartment. I had been in Cebu long enough to feel confident and not long enough to deserve it. I was explaining my theory. An older man could offer stability. A woman might prefer calm. She might see a future with less drama. I had a clean answer for everything. Liza stirred her coffee and said, "Fine. What changes in her Monday morning?" I said, "She has security." "No, Monday morning." That shut me up. Liza would not let me hide inside the word security. Where does she wake up Monday? Near her job, I suppose. You suppose? So I tried again. She gets her son ready. She crosses town to work. Her mother may need something before lunch. Liza nodded. Now put yourself into that day. That changed the picture. If I wanted a quiet house in the province, her commute became longer. If I wanted to travel, somebody still had to be with her son and help her mother. If I meant America, she might be leaving work, family, and the system she knew. My peaceful retirement could become her complicated Monday. When we prepared this episode, one national survey gave that picture a useful boundary. In the 2022 Philippine Demographic and Health Survey, roughly 2 out of 3 married women from 35 to 44 had worked in the previous year. About 86% took part in decisions about their own health care, major household purchases, and visits to relatives. The survey was not about foreign couples, and it does not describe every Filipina. It simply warned me not to begin with a passive woman waiting for me to write her plan. Then Liza turned the question toward me. My Monday was not empty either. My daughter was still in the United States. I had a budget, an older body, and habits built through decades of work. I had called myself free because nobody was waiting at home. That was not the same as arriving without obligations. Before the coffee cooled, I stopped asking whether a woman could accept my age. I asked whether both of us could keep the people and responsibilities that already made up our lives. I had called my side of that bargain security. Liza was about to make me use a less flattering word. Here is the story against me. During my first year in Cebu, I was seeing a woman I had known for less than a month. Not a serious relationship. We were having meals, talking, learning each other. She mentioned that one of her relatives had been in the hospital and part of the bill was still unpaid. She did not hand me an invoice. She did not threaten to leave. I offered to pay part of it. She hesitated. I said I wanted to help. So I helped. 2 days later, we had dinner planned. A family problem came up and she canceled because she needed to be there. She told me early. She did not ask me for more money. She had a real reason, as far as I knew. I wrote back, "Of course, family comes first." Very mature sentence. I was not mature inside it. I felt cheated. I had paid part of that bill, and somewhere in the private bookkeeping of my head, I believed I had purchased a place ahead of the family emergency. I did not say it that plainly, even to myself. I called what I had given her security. I called my disappointment concern. The nicer the word, the easier it was to avoid looking at the transaction I had invented. Liza saw it on my face the next day. I told her the story and said I was trying to give her some security. Liza said, "Thomas, say money." I started explaining. She said, "You gave money. Security is something 2 people build and agree on. An unagreed gift is not a contract." I remember that sentence because it made me angry for about 10 seconds. Then it made me ashamed. The woman had not broken an agreement. There had been no agreement. I had volunteered money, then privately added terms after she accepted it. I messaged her again. I said I had been disappointed about dinner, but she had done nothing wrong, and I hoped her family was all right. There was no dramatic ending. We did not become a great love story, and she did not become a villain. She was a woman I barely knew. I was a lonely man who wanted generosity to tell me more about the relationship than time had told me. After I sent that apology, I opened my monthly budget and found the payment. Beside it, I wrote one word, gift. That word removed the private contract I had invented. A gift did not buy dinner, priority, gratitude, or another week of attention. I began using 4 plain names: gift, loan, shared expense, continuing support. If 2 people could not agree which one applied, the money waited. The difference in scale still mattered. In 2023, average annual Filipino family income was about 353,000 pesos. That national household number did not describe the woman across from me or tell me how far an American pension reached. It simply reminded me that the same hospital bill could land differently in two budgets. I had to use the same honesty with my passport. America could be a possibility. It was not a prize I could offer in the first week or a promise I could use to hold somebody in place. A woman might want to go, she might not. I had no right to write that part for her. And I was not the only person with leverage. My money could pay for an apartment. It could not read a landlord, recognize a bad local price, or tell when somebody was sending me in circles. In those first months, Liza could do things I could not. I had power and dependence at the same time. Money can matter without being the whole relationship. Affection can be real without making a resource gap disappear. The useful question is, what happens when the advantage either person controls is unavailable? Does warmth vanish? Does silence become punishment? Does help acquire terms nobody agreed to? Do not praise an American man by insulting Filipino men, or praise a Filipino by calling American women cold. A passport changes opportunity. It does not manufacture character. The hospital bill did not reveal that woman's character. It revealed a weakness in mine. I wanted generosity to make me feel needed and chosen. It could not do that. Years later, my daughter found a larger hidden agreement in one sentence. We were on a video call. She was in the United States. I was sitting at my kitchen table in Metro Cebu when she said, "Dad, when you're 80, who do you expect to take care of you?" I had spent my working life listening for a pump that sounded wrong before the floor was underwater. I believed in maintenance schedules, emergency numbers, spare parts, and knowing who had the keys. I was much less eager to plan for my own body. I heard criticism. "You moved too far away. You are getting old. You have not thought this through." So I answered too fast. "I take care of myself." She looked at me through that little screen and said, "I asked about 80, not tonight." I got up and made coffee I did not need. When I came back, she had moved on to another subject. The question stayed on the table. We talked for another few minutes. I asked about her week. She told me. I heard perhaps half of it because I was still arguing with the question in my head. After the call ended, the coffee sat beside a black phone screen until it went cold. I tried 3 easy answers after the call. "I can manage today." That answered tonight. "My daughter will know what to do. She lived across an ocean. A younger partner would help me." That was not an answer at all. It was an unpaid job description for a woman I had not even met. Any useful emergency plan answers 4 things: who acts, what it costs, whom to call, and what happens if the first option fails. Yet in my private life, I had treated love as the backup for everything I did not want to arrange. In Ohio, the end of a maintenance problem was not when the noise stopped. Somebody wrote down what failed, what had been done, and what the next shift still needed to watch. Sitting in Cebu, I realized I had prepared no handoff note for my daughter. I had not even decided what belonged on it. I wrote the number 80 on a piece of paper. Under it I wrote 4 questions. What can I arrange and pay for myself? What does my daughter need to know? Which country would make sense if my health changed? What could a partner freely choose to help with, and what must never become her assumed duty? I put the page beside my budget and a packet of medication. Then I moved the medication away because I did not like what it made the page mean. A minute later, I put it back. That was the first honest decision I made about the question. I did not have complete answers that afternoon. That matters. I had 12 years of experience in the Philippines, a retirement budget, and a lifetime of solving practical problems. I still had a blank page where another person's future would have to go. I called Liza and told her my daughter had found the hole in my plan. "Liza, you have raised a son and watched me turn nice words into hidden agreements. What did you hear in my silence?"
Noticed. I had noticed Thomas. Of course I had. It was my job to notice the confused foreign guest in the lobby. I had not considered him as a partner, and he had certainly not been chosen. He crossed all 3 steps in his head before I had finished being polite. A few months later, after he was no longer a guest at my building, we became friends. He stayed, he learned. I corrected him more than once, though that first correction was the one he needed most. The next change was easy to see. Thomas stopped hiding in his apartment. After that elevator ride, he could have avoided the front desk until one of us changed jobs. Instead, he came down the next morning, apologized, and asked which jeepney he needed. He pronounced the destination badly. I made him repeat it. We were both still embarrassed, but at least now we were talking about transportation instead of romance. His life widened through small decisions. He walked instead of staying inside. He returned to the same cafes. When he did not understand a route, a bill, or a word on a sign, he asked instead of pretending. Most of those conversations ended with the answer. One person gave directions, somebody else tried to sell him a condominium. A shopkeeper recognized him the next week. None of that was romance, but he was back inside ordinary human traffic. And the embarrassment did not make his wish for closeness foolish. While preparing this episode, we checked a 2018 national poll of Americans from 65 to 80. Most still considered sex important in a romantic relationship and still had at least some interest in it. The poll promised Thomas nothing. It simply told us not to treat an older person's desire for intimacy as a joke. English often made his first question possible. That did not mean everybody owed him English or that he understood the answer the first time. His Cebuano was still greetings, thanks, and several words that made me wince. Being foreign also made him visible. Visible is not the same as desirable. Some people were curious, some were working, and some saw a possible customer. The extra attention created more contact. It did not create a romantic verdict. Across 15 years in guest relations and relocation, I have watched foreigners arrive with suitcases, assumptions, and sometimes a love story they wrote before meeting the woman in it. A woman replies quickly, introduces a man to relatives, or helps him through a confusing day, and he jumps straight to chosen. Sometimes a relationship later grows, sometimes the contact ends when the service ends. Sometimes 2 adults openly discuss money or relocation. From outside, I do not know the whole motive. Thomas once came back from an expat lunch repeating a claim that 30-year age gaps were normal here. I told him to check before repeating it again. We checked. Why? In 2024, marriages between a Filipino citizen and a foreign citizen were 3.8% of all registered marriages in the Philippines. Americans were the largest listed group among the foreign husbands of Filipinas, but those marriages were still a small minority of all registered marriages. The large age gap in our opening is unusual too. In the national table for 2020, husbands more than 20 years older than their wives accounted for about 1% of registered marriages. It was a pandemic year, the table did not separate foreigners, and it says nothing about couples who did not marry. But it was enough to end the fantasy that every young Filipina was searching for a man Thomas's age. That is what changed around him. He was meeting more people, and they had time to see more than a number on a dating profile. Cebu had moved him one step. He was being noticed. It had not told him who might consider him, why she might do it, or whether he was ready for her real life. What changed inside him took longer to see. An apology in a quiet lobby is easy. I learned more when ordinary life made me inconvenient. Not long after, I had promised to go with him on a Saturday morning to sort out his internet account. My son woke up sick, so I messaged Thomas and said, "I can't come. You will have to do it without me." There was no secret test. Life had simply become inconvenient. He answered, "Take care of your boy. I'll figure it out." He did figure it out, though he came back with the wrong cable. On Monday, he asked how my son was. He did not make me repay the favor. He did not go cold because I had said no. He brought the cable to the front desk in its plastic bag and put it between us. "I spent 30 years fixing buildings," he said. "Apparently, the internet has defeated me." I told him he had bought the wrong one. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he asked about my son before asking which cable he needed. That order mattered more than getting it right the first time. That Saturday told me one small thing. Thomas could hear no without asking me to pay for it. It did not prove he was wise. It did not prove how he would behave in a relationship. It made another conversation possible. Age can create an expectation. A woman may hope an older man is clear, patient, and finished performing for the room. Then a driver is late, a child gets sick, or she changes a plan. Now she can see whether those years became steadiness or only entitlement. Thomas had a clean theory about what an older man could offer. He used words like calm and stability. Over coffee, I asked him to stop describing himself and describe the woman's next day. Thomas, what changes in her Monday morning? Tell them what happened. I heard an empty space, Thomas. Your daughter asked who would carry the work, and your answer was that the work did not exist yet. I am not Thomas's girlfriend. I can answer as his friend, as a single mother, and as a woman who spent 15 years watching people make plans to move, marry, separate, and begin again. My morning is already moving before most romantic ideas wake up. The rice cooker is on. My son is looking for something he should have put in his bag the night before. A work message changes part of the day. I check the time, answer a question, and move one small plan. None of this is tragic. It is simply the life I would still have if I loved somebody. Now place an older partner inside that morning. Attraction may be real, his money may make some problems easier, his experience may calm others, but if his future health depends on me leaving work, moving my son, translating every appointment, managing the house, and becoming the only person who knows what to do, then he has not offered stability. He has moved his uncertainty into my calendar. That does not mean a woman refuses care. I would care for someone I loved. The important word is choose. Care given freely inside a plan is different from care hidden inside the word wife. When Thomas showed me the page with 80 written at the top, I drew a line down the middle. On his side, I wrote budget, insurance, professional help, documents, daughter, country. These were things he could begin arranging without a romantic partner. On the other side, I wrote what a partner may freely choose. She may sit beside him at an appointment, she may help on a difficult day, she may become part of an emergency plan. But love does not erase her job, child health, or right to say, I cannot do that. Thomas tried to write care across the line between the two columns. I moved it back to his side. You arrange the care first, I said. Later, somebody may choose to share it. He asked, what if she wants to do more? Then you talk about more. You do not spend it before she offers it. Thomas said, I would never expect her to quit work. I asked, what have you budgeted so she does not have to? He looked at his budget page. I said, then you have a good intention. You do not have a plan. That was the part his silence told me. He was not trying to trap anyone. He had simply placed a future woman in every blank space and called the page complete. This can happen in both directions. A woman may turn a man into a source of money, migration, or rescue. A man may turn a younger woman into proof that he is still desirable, then expect her to translate, organize the house, solve local problems, and eventually care for him. Two people can use each other while calling only one of them a user. Practical hope does not make love false. I am a single mother. Practical life matters. The trouble starts when support quietly buys obedience or affection, quietly includes unlimited labor. Quote, Thomas did not defend the blank page. He asked me to help him replace assumptions with decisions. A few days later, he called his daughter back. Thomas, tell them what you finally said and what you had to put on the table before you could say it.
I did not answer my daughter that night. A few days later, after Liza and I had covered the kitchen table with the objects for 6 conversations, I called her again. I said, at 80, the first responsibility is still mine. I need money set aside for professional help where it is available. You need to know where my information and documents are. I need a plan for which country makes sense if my health changes. A partner may choose to help me, but my plan cannot depend on her leaving work and becoming the plan. My daughter asked, do you know what that help costs? Not yet. Do you know who I call if you cannot call me? Not completely. It was not the strong answer I wanted to give. It was the first answer that did not hide the missing pieces. My daughter did not congratulate me. She said, send it to me when it is written down. Fair enough. That answer did not remove the price of a large age gap. It finally admitted the price existed. If my health changes, professional care, family help, and a partner may all become part of the answer. But the roles need names. Who can make a medical decision? Where does the insurance work? What can be paid for? What help can a partner realistically give without leaving her own life? Sex belongs at that table too, awkward as that may feel. Desire does not automatically vanish at 70, but bodies change. Medication, pain, energy, menopause, and illness can change what intimacy looks like for either person. She should not become proof that I am still young. I should not make affection part of a caregiving contract neither of us agreed to. Country is part of the price as well. If she moves to America, she may give up work, daily contact with family, and confidence in the system she knows. If I remain here, I must plan for my health without making her my whole plan. Either choice costs somebody something. My daughter was not trying to ruin my life in the Philippines. She was asking me to look 10 years forward. Any younger partner would have to live in that future too. The least I can do is arrive there with more than a promise that love will handle it. This is what Liza and I put on the table before I called my daughter back. I wanted a checklist. She said a checklist would tempt people to tick 6 boxes and call the relationship safe. We started with a grocery receipt and a page from a monthly budget. I put down a small card marked a real no and a packet of medication. Liza added her son's school calendar, a map, and a printout from the Philippine Statistics Authority about civil status records. 7 objects, 6 conversations. It did not look romantic. It looked like a life. Liza tapped the grocery receipt. What happens when nobody is buying the mood? We talked about food, traffic, waiting, and the part of an ordinary day after the easy conversation ends. The receipt became our first decision. Spend ordinary time together before expensive promises create the atmosphere for you. She pulled the budget page closer and crossed out security. Under it she wrote, gift, loan, shared expense, support. Every future payment had to belong under one of those words before it moved. Either person still had to be able to say, I cannot pay for that, without affection becoming punishment. I picked up the card marked a real no. We remembered the Saturday when her son was sick, and I came home with the wrong cable. There had been no disappearance, invented jealousy, or secret test. The useful evidence was whether 2 people could return to a real disagreement without money or silence becoming a weapon. I put the medication packet beside the card. Neither of us moved it away. Health, sex, insurance, mobility, and future care had to be spoken while both people still had choices. A younger partner could be part of a plan. She could not be the whole plan. Liza placed her son's school calendar beside the map. One showed the life already happening. The other showed the country somebody might ask her to leave. We had to account for children, work, parents, my daughter, and where an emergency would place each of us. The PSA printout came last. Affection could not verify identity or civil status. Both people check. The American does not get a pass because he is American. If you know someone only online and an emergency suddenly needs your money, stop. Do not send it because the story is urgent or the video call felt real. Meet in person and verify independently. That is ordinary fraud protection, not an accusation against a country. In the Philippines, a person who says separated may still be legally married. Legal separation by itself does not end the marriage bond. A CENOMAR, the Certificate of No Marriage Record, may be relevant, but prior marriages and foreign divorces can make the record harder to interpret. Before marriage, immigration, property, a business, or a large transfer, each person needs qualified independent advice, not advice from the romantic partner or a relative who says everything is fine. Keep control of your own finances while the facts are being checked. Documents can confirm recorded facts. They cannot certify affection or character. When we cleared the table, none of those objects had proved love. They had done something more useful, made it harder for either person to hide a real-life problem behind a romantic promise. I wrote the care questions into a page for my daughter and put copies of the important information in one place. It was not a complete plan for 80. It was the first time I had stopped asking an imaginary partner to complete it for me. Now go back to the picture we began with. An American close to 70 is walking through Cebu with a much younger Filipina holding his arm. Somebody looks at them and thinks, "Why is she with him?" We cannot answer for that pair. The picture does not tell us. But here is the exact answer to the larger question. The Philippines can place a 70-year-old man in a social setting where his age is still visible, but no longer disqualifies him before the rest of him is considered. Some women may then value his steadiness, clarity, practical stability, or the life they can build with him. They may also decide the cost is too high. The country opens the possibility. His behavior, her free choice, and whether their real lives fit decide what happens next. He is not seen as a young man. He is seen as a man whose age is one fact among several. I landed here at 58. I am 70 now. I move slower than I did in Akron, and I need more light to read a menu. This country did not return my youth. It gave me a larger life to participate in. What kind of man I became inside, that life was still my responsibility. So look at the airport couple without insulting either person. Do not turn her into a scammer from one photograph. Do not turn him into a winner because a younger woman holds his arm. Ask whether they can disagree, whether the promises match the facts, and whether both people remain visible after the first excitement is gone. He cannot ask to be treated as a full man while treating her as a role. If you want more honest conversations about relationships and life in the Philippines, subscribe and come back for the next one. Thao.